on the message section, you can go through that, and if you are left with any doubt, then you can write me an email. Okay. And a lot of students has asked me to create a WhatsApp group. Any student can also create a WhatsApp group, and can send the message here, share the link for joining the group here, and other students can join.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. Sir, I want to ask you questions about our assignment.
What?
Sir, in our assignment, there is a question that
Huh?
explain the theories of internal structure of cities with the help of appropriate diagrams.
Hmm.
Uh, the theories of internal structure means which theories are coming under?
Internal structure, if all the theories which are related to basically urban morphology, you can explain that. Okay, we'll
Concentric.
explain it. What concentric zone model? Okay, you can explain that also.
In I searched in Google, there are three theories. That is concentric model theory, sector theory, and nuclei model
And
theory.
a multiple nuclear theory.
Yes, sir.
Those theories you have to explain.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay, then we are left with two units. I think the fourth unit of fourth block and the fourth unit of first block. Now let's discuss that first. Then if you have any doubts, then you can also ask me. Okay, so this is, I think, block one, and
Sir, we don't get any research material in block 2.
actually, I haven't also got the different resources or study materials for block two, so I don't have any knowledge what to teach you. And because if I will be having the outline, then I could have given you some counseling. Okay, so even I don't have any idea about what is there in block two. Now, unless and until
Oh,
all the things has been written, although I do understand there are population policies and population theories where you will have to go through different Malthus, the theory of Malthus, then demographic transition. Okay, so all those theory you'll have to go through by your own, and I will suggest some good resources and good books. You can go through those books. Okay, so unit 4, your socio-cultural composition. I think in the first class we have already studied about other composition styles. Okay, so here we'll be looking into religious composition, caste composition, and the literacy structure. With we'll be dealing with the global perspective as well as the Indian perspective here. Okay, so mostly the population scientists or even the geographers, they are mostly interested in socio-cultural context of the population dynamics. And why they are so much interested in that? Now, because it is significantly influencing different demographic phenomena and different demographic attributes. Now, just like fertility, mortality, growth, migration. So all these are different phenomena which are related to demography, and they have to look into these population dynamics. So what are the different socio-cultural aspects? So it basically includes your ethnicity, culture, religion, caste, literacy. So all these are basically that basically impact the demographic characteristics. So these are the socio-cultural aspects. We'll be diving deep into the religion, the caste, and the literacy composition of the globe and of India. So definitely, I think in all those classes I have told you that there is variation in everything. So people, the homogeneous people are very rare. So there is definitely global diversity, and global diversity is also observed within cultures, language, even different religious affiliations, the caste attachments. Okay, so all these are basically heterogeneous in nature, and the literacy levels also. Now because there is regional variation in literacy levels within India and even in global perspective, and we'll be looking into different factors which are basically determining the literacy of those people who are living in certain region. So mostly the population policies globally, if we'll be looking into the global population policies, those are closely tied with the incorporation of socio-cultural information. Now, okay, so it will be a success or it will be a failure. That will be depending. That will depend on crucial informations on the socio-cultural structure. So first, let's discuss about the religion. Okay, so as we know, India is basically a country which is dominated by Hindu population, and uh, somewhere around 80% of the total India's population, they believe in they believe in Hinduism. Okay, so Hinduism basically rooted in our tradition. So significant portions of the population also are there to other major religions like. So what are the different other religions which are found in India are Islam, Christianity, then Sikh, Buddhism, Jainism. So all these are different other religions which are found in India. And if we'll be looking into the tribal population, now most of the tribal population, their beliefs are something different. And although as although in Indian constitution we have included those people to our Hindu menfold. Now because their beliefs are quite similar to that of what we believe is known as your Sanatan Dharma. So that's why we have included their beliefs into the Hinduism. But there are some distinct forms of tribal religions are also there. Then what is the concept? Okay, so religious diversity has been a long standing and traditional aspect of your population composition, that is socio, now shaping the human civilization and occupying a central role in individuals life. So what religion is basically playing an important role in human civilization, and it is shaping the human civilization. Now because how Islam has shaped the human civilization will be something different than how Hindu religion has shaped the human civilization, and that will be something different from how Christian or the religion Christian has shaped the human civilization. So the way it is shaping the human civilization will be something different. Why? Now because their beliefs are different. Now what we believe and what other religions are believing, so that is basically different. So that's why it is shaping, it is shaping the human civilization. And there are different impact of religion. Okay, so that basically extends beyond your personal faith. Now mostly that affect various demographic parameters. As a follower of any religion, you basically tend to cluster and basically concentrate in specific geographic region, and creating different religious landscapes. Okay, so most of the religion, so beyond their personal faith, okay, so they basically create the religious landscape. Then what is the global pattern of religion? So as we already know, it's actually most of the majority of population of the globe, they believe in the concept of religion. It's only around 15%, so who don't believe in any kind of religion. So most of the people or majority of people who are living in this globe are basically believers of religion, and they are around 85% of the world's population. They identify themselves belong to some kind of religion. So major religions are basically your Christianity, Islam, Hindu, Buddhism, uh, Judaism. So all these are different religions. Okay, so if we will be looking into the spatial variation of the world's population in terms of religion, uh, that will reflect centuries of diffusion, that will reflect different behaviors of people which are basically attached with some kind of religion. And this, there is spatial variation, as we know, just like in a country like India, uh, we do reflect our behaviors. Okay, so just like Christian countries, or just like any Islam dominated countries, so they will be reflecting their behaviors, and uh, those are basically saved over the years, and that takes time. And there will be extreme regional concentration, and in religion or religious beliefs. So, religious composition of India's population. What is the religious composition of India's population? As we have already discussed, more than not more, somewhere around 80% of the total population belongs to Hindu community, and it is basically followed by Muslims. So, which is around your 14.23%. Then you have uh, Christians, okay, 2.3%, Sikhs, 1.72%, Buddhist, 0.70%, and Jains, okay, 0.3%. So the relative strength of different religious groups actually has changed over the time. Now, with the Hindu population that is basically decreasing, okay, so decreasing from around 85% in 1951 to 79.8%, 79.8% in 2011. So while the Muslim population has shown higher population growth, so in between this, now after India got independence, uh, there is there is a population decreasing trend in terms of the percentage of population those who belong to Hindu religion, and while vice versa is true for Islam religion. Okay, so nowadays, if you'll be looking into the data of Islam or Muslim population, now the recent data is indicating that there is a drastic decline in the growth even among the Muslim population. So hopefully, in near future, the population or the Muslim population will stabilize, and uh, the percentage, okay, so the percentage of Hindu population and the percentage of Muslim population will remain somewhat stable in the future. So what is the spatial distribution of different religious communities in India? So you can see these are.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes, sir. I want to ask a question. You said the Muslim population is declining. Anyway, is
Rakesh.
data, sir?
Hello.
You said the Muslim population is declining, but any
Okay.
data is not showing any that Muslim population will be declining.
No, it has been written here. You can see here.
Let's see here, but in a recent Niti Aayog data, sir, we can say that they are going the double fold compared to majority religion.
Okay. Uh, okay. What has been given here, I have said. Okay, I will verify the data, but mostly I believe the it's not talking about that Muslim population is slowing down. It is basically explaining about the percentage. Okay, the percentage that is basically contributing to the population of India. Okay, now you can
Obviously, sir, in
understand there is.
Niti Aayog data, the huge number of migration from Bangladesh or other country are flowing. In even the recent, our border state has a huge number of Muslim population. Not a single data in India is showing that the Muslim population is declining.
No, not it is not saying it is not saying like that. Try to understand it. It is saying that the percentage of contribution of Muslim population to the total Indian population is declining or is stabilizing.
No, the same thing. Na, if you can contribute 100, sir, if we consider 100 population, then how they are declining? Previously, they are in from 1951 to recently 2023. They are not declining.
Hmm?
Otherwise, they are if they are declining, their population should be decreased. Na? Their population will be double fold.
Okay, and I do understand what you were telling. Actually, it's about what percentage of Hindu population are contributing to the total population of India and what percentage of Muslim population is contributing to the total population of India. So hopefully it will stabilize. Now,
Hopefully, it will be
recently,
stabilized. Though these data if are given by maybe leftist like
uh,
Ramila Thapar or Irfan Habib.
okay, we'll verify it. Okay, based
Okay.
on the census data. Now, what I have understood is that if the decadal growth rate of Muslims from or after the independence. Okay, now let's take the example of 1951, then 1961, 71, 81. So the growth rate is maybe declining, or
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe sir growth rate is declining due to modernization. Every year adopting our two child, three child in urban area,
Okay.
but not in
Mhm.
village area. Not everyone adopting the two child or one child policy. In maximum Muslim parents are in village area. You can say 6 or 7 years. How the population is declining? It is debatable.
Okay, so we'll look into maybe we'll be looking into this one and we'll dive deep about this data. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay, I will research about this data. What you have pointed. Maybe if you will mail. Did you got the mail address of mine?
If I will not mail address, you can mention that I can clarify this. If we have a date, any doubt, you can clarify that.
Okay. Okay, so this is basically the spatial pattern of religious composition in India, and you can look into uh, different states, so which are basically showing you the major religion of that state, and you can look into this. Okay, so the green color part basically shows a Muslim population, and those areas are basically dominated by Muslim population. Then the Hindu, so a majority of the important political units are basically dominated by Hindu. Then you have Christian population, so which is spreading in northeast Indian states. Then Buddhism is there in the Kashmir, Ladakh part. Okay. Then a Sikh population is basically dominated in the northwest part of India, that is basically the Punjab. So caste and tribe composition of uh, India, and if we'll be looking into India's population, and because the major religion here is Hindu, most of as most of us know that there is caste system in India, and we'll be looking into the caste and tribe composition. So what is the concept behind caste or tribe? I think most of you are uh, very much familiar with the concept of caste. Even in the previous class we are discussing about the social status, okay, the social structure, and while discussing about the village morphology, we are discussing about how the caste system has evolved, and how different social strata they uh, they engage in different types of economic activities, and that has been followed hereditary by the new generations. Okay, so that is how the caste system is basically followed throughout these years, and these are basically inherited, by birth. And if you belong to some caste by birth, then you will be identified as you belong to that caste. So uh, so this is the concept. Then the scheduled castes of India, then aspects of demography and spatial distribution. So, so in India, historically, if you'll be looking into the scheduled castes, so they occupy the lower rungs of caste hierarchy, and they basically suffered from deprivation, poverty, and marginalization. And even the same is true for scheduled tribes. So first, let us discuss about the scheduled castes of India. Then we'll be discussing about the scheduled tribe. So mostly the SC population, that is scheduled caste population, is uh, is found mostly in states like Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, you know, uh, other states like Manipur, Meghalaya, and some union territories do also have a huge SC population. And if we'll be diving into the spatial pattern of acid concentration, so that basically reveals a positive correlation, okay, with the areas that is basically supporting intensive cultivation, and those areas are basically inhabited by scheduled tribes, scheduled castes. And when there is a negative association, those areas are predominantly inhabited by the scheduled tribe. So what it is telling us is that, and all the areas which were inhabited by the scheduled caste population, so those areas are associated with uh, intensive cultivation or agricultural practices has been shown in those areas traditionally. Now, while the vice versa is true for the scheduled tribes. Okay. And the history of conversion of SC population to other religion has reduced, basically their proportion in population, and particularly in areas of Muslim concentration. Okay, so if we'll be looking into the history, so the conversion rate of SC population to no to getting converted into other religion is has been reduced a lot. And this scheduled caste population is basically they constitute of a very marginalized population, and affirmation action is basic no action to improve their social economic status is very much needed in India. The data has been given here, and these are the census data. Scheduled tribes of India. So, what is their aspect of democracy and spatial distribution? So, scheduled tribes in India basically constitute. Uh, they are also constituting a somewhere around 8.6, I think. Okay, so they constitute 8.6% of the population, and the 705 communities has been identified as scheduled tribes in 2011. Then spatial distribution of ST population is basically marked by high degree of clustering and concentration. So with a higher presence in areas characterized by rugged topography, or lower presence in areas with open relief. So what does that really mean? A lot of scheduled tribe population, they basically inhabited all those regions, so which belong to the rugged topography, just like hilly areas and mountainous areas, and even the plateau regions. So all those regions are inhabited by the scheduled tribe population. Now, while a very low scheduled tribe population is found in open relief areas, just like plain lands. Then ST population, basically, if we'll be looking into the ethnic culture, so economically, socially, and even culturally, they are very heterogeneous in nature and are largely concentrated in the hills and mountains and forest tract. In those areas, you can find the ST population. So the distribution of this ST population varies across different states and union territories. Uh, with few few states or union territories do have a higher percentage of ST population, while others may not be having a significant ST population. So you can go through the table and look at the percentage of ST population to the state's total population. So basically, the northeastern states do have a higher percentage of ST population to the total population. Literacy and levels of educational attainment. So what is the importance of literacy and education? And as we know, it is one of the crucial qualities for the progress and development of individual, uh, different population and communities and nation. So that's why literacy and education becomes a vital part to understand different demographic dynamics. Okay, so they significantly influence the demographic behavior, including fertility, mortality, migration, and the economic composition. Now, while if you'll be looking into the population, those are literate and educated. So most of the people um, they are engaged in some sort of economic activity which will be different from all those illiterate people or all those people who are not not that educated. Okay, so that is the difference. Okay, and it will also influence the demographic behaviors. So what are the demographic behaviors? Just like fertility, mortality, and migration, that will also be influenced by the literacy and education. So according to the census of India, I think anybody who is above 5 years or 7 years who can read, write, and do arithmetic calculation is basically a literate person. And we can calculate the literate persons, then only you'll be getting the literacy rate. So there is diversity even in the literacy definition, because this concept basically varies across countries based on the socio-cultural context and developmental levels and exposure to the formal education. Now you can't simply expect the concept of literacy of the Africa continent will be something different than that of the Europe continent. Now why? Now how much they are exposed to formal education, then what is their socio-cultural context, and if the people of that region are basically struggling to fulfill their basic needs, you can't simply expect them to uh, you know to look after their literacy, okay, at a higher point or higher scale. So that is something different. So there is variation in terms of literacy definitions and minimum literary skills that has been identified by the UN. Okay, so population, those who can both read and write a simple message with understanding in any language. So that is basically given by the United Nations. Then what is the global literacy challenge? Okay, so UNESCO basically reported in 2021 that 773 million youth and adults, and two-thirds of them being women, cannot read and write. So this is a sad news for us also. Okay, so what are the challenges that basically the global face in terms of literacy? Now, significantly, there are even 250 million children who have failed to acquire, even simple literacy skill. So the world actually has undergone a literacy transition. So that basically shifted from largely illiterate societies to majority literate population in most countries. Now uh, with the time, as the time progresses, the concept of literacy also varies, but a lot of people get a lot of information, and they do understand the importance of education. So this transition, okay, so this transition basically began in industrial nations of Western Europe, and that basically diffused globally. So that categorized different uh, countries based on their success in achieving literacy and education. It's not that we didn't traditionally had our education system. Now just like in India, we followed Gurukul system as our educational system, and this formal education was introduced by mostly the Westerners and Western countries. So this kind of education right now that we are going through is basically the concept of Western countries. So, due to the period of colonization and a lot of people, sorry, the colonizing country basically imposed this kind of education to the system. Now, right now, if we will be looking into the Indian education system, now still now just like here I am talking in English, okay, so English as a medium of communication has been imposed by our education system. Now there are two sides of a coin for sure, okay. Now if you are from Odisha, or maybe you are from West Bengal, or maybe you are from Bihar, so maybe we could have used Hindi as our medium of education, maybe we could have used Odia for our medium of education, or even Bengali. But we are deeply rooted into this kind of educational system, and if we'll be looking into the globe, okay, the global perspective, now most of the education or the availability of resources in English is huge, okay. So the development in terms of uh, in terms of any discipline, if we'll be looking into any discipline, those are studied in different languages. But now let's take the example of geography in Odia. So in Odisha, I don't find a lot of colleges so who are teaching geography in Odia, and mostly in graduation or post graduation stages. So and even in although in West Bengal, I have seen a lot of colleges are opting Bengali as a medium of communication and Bengali as a medium of even examination also. Okay, so hopefully these kind of gaps that we are facing right now will be filled with our people. So they when they will be focusing upon their language, and they can bring the best out of their self. Now because if you can't do research, if you can't do simple things, then we can't simply expect to develop a discipline in any regional language. So what are the different factors which are affecting the literacy, or which are affecting the education? So those are basically first one is your colonial or feudal influence, and the colonial rule basically exhibit lower literacy levels. Now, as most of the colonial now if we'll be looking into the colonial time, so they wanted uh, us to provide them services. So that's why the education they have provided will be something different, and the structure or the curriculum of the education system at that time will be something different now, because the curriculum has been planned based on their requirements. So that's why that has influenced them, and even the curriculum of today's world or the contemporary times, so even getting influenced from the colonial period also. Now we can simply take the example of India. Now India is started to think in a free way, in an independent manner. So hopefully the curriculum of India will be something different, and it will follow different values. So then you have industrialization and literacy. How industrialization actually have influenced the literacy rate? Now, because industrialization will be requiring some skills. Okay, so for the development of industrial growth, so it is important to have some skills. And if you want job opportunities, if you want employment in industries or in industrial sector, then you need to acquire some kind of skills, and that will only come from a different no only come from if you will be investing your time to be literate or to be educated. Now, because the traditional economies, okay, so the traditional economies were basically they were focused mostly on the sustenance, and they practiced agriculture, and those that is why we call the traditional economies as agricultural economies, and that basically has had limited emphasis on the literacy development, and because they only focused on the concept of sustenance. Okay, so uh, through agriculture they will be producing uh, different crops, and that will be consumed throughout the year, and they didn't required that kind of education, okay, system at that time. So there is rural urban disparity also. Okay. So there is rural urban disparity in terms of literacy rates, and the urban areas do have a higher literacy rate. So due to better access of formal schooling and concentration of varied educational institution, you can take the example of a lot of urban centers. Those urban centers will be providing you better educational services, and while villages will not provide you better educational services. So that's why the urban people will be having a higher literacy rate, and they will be much more educated as compared to the rural villages. So then you have socio-cultural factors. Okay, so within socio-cultural factors, there are a lot of things that is basically influencing the literacy rate or the education uh, of any region. Okay, so you have religion, language, even gender. So these socio-cultural factors are significant in terms of now these factors are actually influencing the literacy development not only in India, even on a global scale. Now just like okay, just like now let's take the case of language. So language is basically rooted to our culture, and if you belong to Odisha, then I think your mother tongue is Odisha. Okay, so you can express anything in Odia. That will be much more easier for you. And if you want to communicate in English or any language, let's say Japanese or French language, you have to learn that language first, and then you have to communicate your thoughts in that kind of language. So that is a barrier now, because the resources those are basically found for the no for a successful formal education system. You need to have uh, a general pattern. Okay, now just like in India, we do have a lot of states, and their official languages are something different, and let's suppose being a researcher, you are doing something and you can convey that message to the people from a different background, or all those people who are speaking different languages, because their mother tongue is something different. So that is a problem. Okay, that is a problem. So in that way, language is also influencing the level of literacy and the educational development. Then you have gender inequality or gender discrimination. Now, where I don't have to say that in a country like India, the percentage of uh, male literacy outnumbers the percentage of female literacy, and you can look into each and every census data. Now, although awareness has been created in contemporary times, and different programs has been initiated by the government of India, so to encourage education among female or girl child. So hopefully these kind of initiatives will solve a lot of problems. And then comes the standard of living and access. Now, because the standard of living of different people, that will also influence the the literacy or the education their their children can get. Okay. Now let's suppose you want to acquire a skill, and you have to move out of your region. Now let's suppose you will have to migrate to Delhi to acquire that skill. So in that way, if your family will not be in a position uh, to support you financially, so that is a problem. Now, because our standard of living maybe that will be maybe very low. Okay. And problem of access is, accessibility is also a problem now, because uh, you want to be specialized in something. Now, just like in research field, you want to be specialized in any research field, then you'll have to acquire those kind of specialization first. And if those specializations are not provided by your region or your state or your nation, then you'll have to migrate to other countries. So accessibility is also a problem. Now then you have government policies and programs that also play a vital role in terms of influencing the literacy rates. Okay, so initiative like right to education, pre and compulsory education, adult literacy programs. So all these schemes are positively contributed to the literacy rate. Then spatial patterns with reference to India, spatial patterns of literacy rate with reference to India. So historically, India, at the time of independence, we were having a literacy rate of 18.33 percentage. Okay, so in 1951, according to 1951 census, now right now it is reaching over 74 percentage. Okay, so there is a gender gap. So in 2001 census, uh, there was a literacy gender gap of around 21.69 percentage, but in 2011 it has diminished to 16.68 percentage. Hopefully the gap will be maintained. Then you have rural urban disparities that we have already discussed. Higher percentage of lit literacy rate is basically found in urban areas as compared to the rural areas. Now, because in Indian context, the urban areas do have a literacy rate of 84.11 percentage, while in rural areas it is around 67.77 percentage. Then you have a state-wise disparity. Okay, so significant disparities exist at the state and union level, union territory level. So that is basically ranging from 61 percentage to 94 percentage. So you can look into what percentage of literacy, what is the percentage of literacy in different states. Here it has been given, and these are the states which are having more than 90% of literate population. So which are the states having high literacy rate? You have Kerala, Lakshadweep, Mizoram. So all these are regions with more than 90% of literacy, and even they have declared fully literate states. Then you have literacy rate of 80 to 90%. Those are basically Maharashtra, Goa, Tripura, Sikkim, Tamil Nadu. All these are just below those first, more than 90%. Then you have moderate literacy rate. So which are having a literacy rate of somewhere around 70 to 80%, and those are West Bengal, Odisha, Chhattisgarh. Okay, then Uttarakhand, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat. All these are having moderate literacy rate. Then you have states with a low literacy rate. Those are Rajasthan, even parts of Uttar Pradesh, not Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand. So all these uh, are having a very low literacy rate. Okay, so give me 2 to 3 minutes. We'll discuss the block 4. Welcome back, everyone. So we'll basically be discussing about what are the different settlement policies and programs. uh, Settlement policies basically what are the different policies which are related to the infrastructure, which are related to the building of houses, which are related to providing sanitary facilities and even providing water. Okay, so all these policies and programs will be discussing in brief. Rural housing and infrastructure, and here major emphasis in settlement policies is basically given to housing and infrastructure. Now here the definition of infrastructure has been given, now which is basically related to your housing and settlement. uh, so first let's discuss about the housing policies or programs that has been initiated by the government of India. So there are different programs that has been initiated. So after independence, under the community development program, a formal village housing scheme was launched in 1957, and uh, housing was basically given importance under the National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, so which was also initiated in 1980, and that NREGP program was that became a part of Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program, and that is in that was in 1983. So the program, this is a very important program, that is your Indira Awas Yojana or Indira Awas Yojana. It was basically launched as a sub scheme of Rural Landless Employment Guarantee Program. Uh, so later in 1989, it became the Indira Awas Yojana. So in 1989, it became the sub scheme of Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, and finally in 1996 it became the Indira Awas Yojana, and it basically targeted the marginalized communities of the country, and mostly the minority households and those people who are included under the in the BPL list. Okay, so below poverty line list. So what this program is all about? So this Indira Awas Yojana will be providing help in terms of upgrading their kacha houses or earthen houses to pakka houses. And what will be the share of state government and central government? Central government will be providing 75% of the fund, and the state government have to provide 25% of the fund to those people. Okay, so the northeast, the case of northeast is something different. Then you have Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. In Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and there are many shortfalls in in this Indira Awas Yojana. There was corruption, there was different political interference. Now, because if the Congress will be ruling on uh, so if the Congress will be ruling at the national level and a state party will be ruling at the state level, then there will be political interference also, and even the corruption was rampant at that time. Okay, then you have Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So this is a very recent program that has been initiated by our Prime Minister only in 2016. So this that Indira Awas Yojana was revamped to Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and the funding pattern has also been changed. Now, at that time, 75% of fund was provided by the central government, while right now only 60% of the fund is provided by the central government and 40% have to be supported by the state government. So about the water supply, okay. So accelerated rural water supply program was initiated in 1972 and 73. So this is one of the major schemes that basically aimed at supplying safe drinking water to the remote villages, mostly in the rural areas, and that targeted all all the rural villages or all those remote villages, those basically faced the drinking water problem. So there is scarcity of water or there is scarcity of drinking water. Now either that region has been affected by flood or drought, or the soil, the groundwater is basically affected, and you have saline soil or alkaline soil. In 1991 and 2, a new scheme, that is your Rajiv Gandhi National Drinking Water Mission. So that was another initiative during the 90s, and it was having three components. What are they? Basically, coverage, sustainability, and water quality. Then in 1999, sector reform projects was introduced, and other programs like National Drinking Water Program in 2009 and Jal Jeevan Mission. So what are the different programs and policies which are related to the road infrastructure? You have Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana that was initiated in 2000. So basically to connect villages with a population size of 500 or more, and it will differ if that village is in hilly areas. So hilly area villages, if the population is 250 or more, so those areas will be connected with Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana with all weather roads. Those are basically metalled roads. Okay. So in the beginning, it was actually funded by the central government, but right now we have a 60-40 contribution by the central government and state government respectively. So what are the different programs which were related to the sanitation? Total sanitation campaign. Okay, so Central Rural Sanitation Program was launched in 1986. So that basically targeted to improve the sanitary conditions in rural areas, and and even later on it has promoted community participation, participation based program, so which basically attempted to improve the rural sanitation scenario. Okay, so by creating awareness, through checking open defecation and building latrines in schools and anganwadis, then converting dry latrines into cost effective, safe and hygienic latrines. Then different cash incentives were provided to BPL households to construct toilet. Okay, and uh, where the contributions will be made by central government, state government, and the person itself. So the contribution percentage is 60, 28, and 12%. So 60% will be provided by the central government. Then about the sanitary program, sorry, programs related to sanitation, you have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So Clean India Mission that was initiated in 2014, okay, by our Prime Minister Modi. Then Nirmal Gram Puraskar or Clean Village award. Those were basically these kind of awards were given to all those villages which basically get a tag of open defecation free status. Okay, so all these incentives um, are gonna help aware people about the sanitation in rural areas and even in the remote places. Then about the electrification infrastructure, Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana. Okay, nowadays also the BPL holders or the ration card holders, they get electricity at an incentive rates. In since 2017, you have Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana. Saubhagya is also being operational. Then you have these are basically uh, the housing and infrastructure in rural areas. To have urban housing and infrastructure, what are the different programs and policies which were related to the urban housing and infrastructure? So housing not seen as basically economically viable, and at that time after independence, this was also not considered as a constitutional right, and even the refugee rehabilitation, posed a significant challenge after independence. Now, because after independence, a lot of people they migrated from the partitioned land. Okay, in the Hindus, those basically lived in the areas of Pakistan. They started migrating to India, and that basically poses a significant challenge to the government of India. Now, those refugees cannot be settled very easily without proper no, housing programs or without proper housing facilities. So, where they will be going? Because they are homeless and they need a job. So definitely they will be migrating towards the urban places. So this is how a lot of slums started. And okay, so urbanization and housing demand. So, rural-urban migration due to poverty, unemployment, and so that's why a lot of people they start migrating to the urban places, and that is why the housing demand in urban places is very high, and that can be seen through or through the prices. Okay, so the price of rent, the price of land in and around the urban centers will be very high as compared to the rural areas. Then industrialists basically settled workers in basic dwelling units. So that is basically leading to the launch of industrial housing scheme in 1949. This is the first housing scheme that basically focused the urban centers. Then what are the other government initiatives? So industrial housing scheme basically provided interest-free loans for approved housing schemes, then direct delivery of housing units, including low-income group employees. So despite different efforts, many poor migrants they resorted to living in unauthorized quarters, and that basically lacks basic amenities. So in urban morphology we have studied about gentrification and the slum development. So the migration of a lot of people from rural areas having low in they belong to low income groups, so they will be facing a lot of problems in terms of finding shelter. So they will be settling in those areas, and that will basically lead to the development of slums. Okay, so to solve the problem of housing among the refugees from Pakistan in city areas, government created model towns. Now, even after creating model towns and a lot of refugees were settled in those model towns, but still this was not enough at that time. Now, because the influx of refugees were huge. Okay, then you have a state housing boards and a private sector involvement. So where establishment of state housing boards to basically address specially varied housing issues in urban centers, and encouragement of private builders and corporate cooperative societies through financial support. Government has given a lot of financial support to uh, the housing boards and even the private sector players. So this is basically from 1947 to 1964, and there was a shift from 1965 towards 1990. Here, what was the policy shift? So government regulation and policy shifted to, there were strong regulatory restrictions, okay, to the private players in housing market, and government basically shifted its approach uh, towards solving housing problems. So what are the in situ development plans? First, you have launch of environmental improvement of urban slums in 1972, and sites and services came in 1980. So government basically focused in situ development of slums to enhance living environment and secure land tenure status. So in situ development plans, what does that really mean? It will provide different status to the slum areas, and in the next section we'll be discussing in detail. Okay, so land tenure status has been given to those people who are staying in those slum areas. Then financial institutions and different policies has been changed by the government. So whatever the different financial institutions at that time, Housing and Urban Development Corporation (HUDCO). Okay, so this institution was established. Then you have National Housing Bank (NHB), then HDFC. Right now, this is a private player. Housing Development Finance Corporation. So all these institutions were established so that they can fund the housing in urban areas. Then subsidy and reforms were also given by uh, these financial institutions, so that it encouraged building of houses in urban areas. Then another scheme, uh, another policy, the launch of integrated development of small and medium towns, integrated development of small and medium towns. So that basically aimed in creating the infrastructural assets in small and medium towns. Now, because a lot of policies were basically targeted uh, at the big scale. Okay, so all those metro cities and the big cities, so those were those got the first focus. But this integrated development and national housing policy basically aimed in improving the infrastructure of small and medium towns in 1979 and 80. Then the introduction of national housing policy in 1988. So that basically streamlined the role of government. Okay, and government basically focused more on the core areas and the financial support. So by what means? So it basically given the provision of houses for the poor, and RBI even took different steps to ensure availability of funds for individuals and builders. So these steps were taken. Then this is the period of 1991 and 2000. So in that period, so basically market-led development and housing is basically seen. So Indian economy got opened to the global market now, because 1991 that is the year of the new economic policy. that was announced by uh, our former Prime Minister and the Finance Minister of India in 1991, and that changed a lot of things. Now, government basically focused on housing of poor, urban poor, so including the BPL, then women-headed SC/ST households, and following different national housing policy guidelines. Then in after the 1990 urban poverty elevation programs were started, and different slum development programs were also started. So launch of national slum development program in 1997, so that basically aimed to upgrade the slums. Then introduction of urban basic service for poor, integrating basically health, education, and security aspect with cost recovery mechanism. Then night shelter schemes for different dwellers were introduced in 1990, and HUDCO that provided loans and different subsidies in creating those night shelters. Okay, then 2 million scheme. So launch of 2 million scheme in 1999. That basically funded by HUDCO and Housing Finance Institution. So in that expansion of private housing finance market with commercial banks, so they offered housing finance wings. And what are the different water supply and sanitation programs? uh, you have accelerated urban water supply program that was implemented in 1993-94. So that basically emphasized upon the needs of safe and adequate drinking water to small towns, so which were having a population of less than 20,000, and it basically prioritized the drought prone areas and all those cities which has developed in in those regions or in those relief conditions which are devoid of water availability. Then even the salinity prone regions were also prioritized. I mean, all those regions uh, nearby the coastal plains. Then and how the waterborne diseases were affected the small towns. So in this program, accelerated urban water supply program, so these regions were basically provided with water supply. So what are the role of NGOs in funding pattern? Now, because the NGOs uh, came into the picture here after the 1991, now because a lot of foreign direct investment started after 1991. So in that way, what will happen, a lot of NGOs, they uh, they even funded different sanitation schemes. They even funded uh, the housing facilities in urban areas. Then after 2000, from 2001 to 2022, and it is continuing. In 2001, we are having Balmiki Ambedkar Awas Yojana that was launched to provide shelter to people who are living below poverty line, and different shelters were planned to be newly constructed and to be upgraded under the scheme with an additional emphasis on the living environment. Then in 2005, you you got this Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission. So that was initiated in 2005, and it had two sub missions. One is basically UIG, that is urban infrastructure and governance, that basically focused on projects like road construction, improvement of public transport, then network building and water supply and sanitation, the solid waste management. Then the second submission was actually the basic services. So it basically focused on the basic services, how that can be provided to the urban poor people. Okay, so different schemes were attached to this mission. You have urban infrastructure development scheme for small and medium towns, and second one is your integrated housing and slum development program. In 2011, Rajiv Awas Yojana was introduced. So to make cities and towns slum free, and so most of the small dwellers were given homes and were given shelters, and it attempted to find suitable vacant land so that can be used for construction of houses in urban places. 22 to 25% of developed land of all housing projects uh, basically given to this, okay, this scheme. In 2015, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and it was launched, which basically subsumed all earlier schemes of urban housing, and all the urban housing programs were included under this scheme only, and in a way it started funding the urban people. In 2015, Atal Mission for Rejuvenation and Urban Transformation was introduced, while continuing earlier principles of capacity building and reform implementation. So this scheme basically focused on water supply, stormwater drainage, and urban green space areas and public transport. So it basically covered the class 1 cities. I think there are six classes of cities as identified by the Census of India, and based on the size of population, those classes has been divided. In 2015, Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana was also initiated. So it basically aimed to enhance the urban infrastructure for conservation of heritage of selected urban centers. Okay, so these were the cities which were included under this Heritage City Development and Augmentation Yojana. Why? Now, because these cities did have the cultural significance, and so that's why the Heritage City Development Yojana was introduced in these cities. So since 2020, government is working on sub schemes like affordable rental housing complexes under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. Okay, so these are the important points which are related to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Sustainability of constructed toilets and waste management facilities, flexibility given to states following the ideas of cooperative federalism, then involvement of various stakeholders to the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Okay, so the concept of smart cities were introduced. Okay, and smart cities basically that will be equipped with ICT, and it will be providing diverse opportunities to the residents, and the infrastructure will be good, and the sanitation and the housing facilities will be uh, in a better condition. So ICT, that is basically information and communication technology, that will be used for solving different challenges of different cities. Uh, that may be social, economical, or environmental challenge. So different rounds has been done. So these are the smart cities of India. Then sustainable cities. Sustainable cities are basically those cities which are resilient cities, and they can adapt to uh, adapt to different environmental change, adapt to different social and economic activity change that promotes different types of economic activity. So sustainable development, I think you all are very much aware about the sustainable development. So these are the different elements of sustainable city. So first one, you are having the component of social. So values and perceptions that are basically leading to consumption and behavioral changes that reduce the anthropogenic impact on the environment. Then political. So what are the political elements? Laws and guidelines that basically support the social values, consumption patterns, and and others. Okay, so political, basically it will be looking after the law and order of the city or urban area. Then managerial, so the government and private sector organization that will be managing the environmental issues. Financial, all those institutions, those will operate to maintain the sustainable infrastructure. So just like they will be providing you loans, they will be funding different housing structures, or to uh, to build different infrastructure, just like road, electricity. Okay, so this much for today. Actually, I am having a throat pain, so that's why I think today's session is kind of boring, I believe. Hopefully, you'll get to learn something out of this session. If you have any questions, you can raise. Okay, then I'm culminating this session. If you have any doubt, then you can mail me. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.